my
There we
goodness,
are.
Holy Spirit. Thank God that worked.
Can
my
I
trust,
can you see
my trust went out the window.
Oh my God. This was the funniest thing. I know. And then your sound went away. Can you actually see me?
I can see you look beautiful.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everybody. And can I just tell you something? So listen to this. So that deck, the spirit animal deck, was really dedicated to my father. My dad was Serbian and raised me on the Slavic folk tales and fairy tales. And he taught me how to read Turkish coffee cups and taught me all about the Slavic understanding of spirit animals, right? Because that's what he knew. He had no concept whatsoever of anything North American. So this morning I was connecting to my dad and I said, show me a sign that you're there. And that deck is not a new deck. So the fact that you, right away, I saw your face and there is the spirit animal, which is, yeah. So anyhow, that was just really cool. Just saying.
Well, what's so cool was I hadn't even finished the story and you came on, but I actually want to tell you in person.
Sure.
Is that the cards. So what I usually do with the cards is I usually lay them out. By the way, I love the designer. These, because this is my favorite color. This is really my favorite color.
I would wear that deck.
I would wear it too. So I put it out and I always say, Holy Spirit, give me a message through these cards, through the animals. Yeah. And what I got, which is so synchronistic, is fox spirit, and I'll tell you why. And it says, think on your feet. Now, this gets even a little bit more incredible. So when I go and I pick it and I see it, I said, like intuition in this interview, like give me a sign for this interview. And it said, think on your feet. Now, I was in television for over 20 years and I used to do hosting and I hosted with WWF and I did all these things.
Wow.
And they used to always say to me, Maria, you're so good at thinking on your feet.
Oh, wow.
I'm interviewing you, so just fox spirit, because the whole card is about resilience. It's about being creative, thinking on your feet, moving forward. And I was like, so I thought that was...
Yeah, and you know what's interesting too, that you pulled that card, because it's really for everybody. You know, that card is right at this time. I think, you know, we've been through such a period of sustained uncertainty. And now everywhere you look, you're being reminded of all the changes, etc. But this is the perfect time to make these types of changes. And so you do need to think on your feet. You need to be like allowing spirit to come through you and become that resilient responder as opposed to reactor. And that's what foxes are good at, right? They can, you know, there they are and there they're not. So they are a very quick-footed animal.
It says here, I'm going to show you guys it says here, I'm just going to read just the beginning because it's so powerful. It says, be alert now, for fox spirit has appeared and you are meant to move swiftly. And you're meant, and it says, let this clever spirit draw out your creativity as you adjust to rapidly changing circumstances with resilience, grace, and astuteness.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. I was like, yeah, exactly where I'm at. And I can see how that will relate to everyone.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, you know, one of the things that I learned early on about oracles, which is why I devoted my life to them. I mean, it was literally, this is what I do. It's not about predictions. It's, even though it can be, it's really about a dynamic and present relationship and dialogue between you and the conscious universe. In your case, you say Holy Spirit, Great Spirit, whatever the language is, but that we can actually talk directly to and not talk at God, spirit. You know, the consciousness will talk back to us through the medium, the intermediary, which are a divination system, right? So that's why I got really excited, because early on, like, because I've been doing this now for 35 years. So I would say, I'd say about 33, no more than that, 37 years ago, I had a therapist who actually taught me, well, she didn't teach me anything. I sat down in her room and she took out a deck of cards and I'm thinking, wait a sec, that's not why I'm here. And I got really kind of like, what is this? you know, I understood this divination was always about predictions. It was always about using it, find out, am I going to get what I want? Am I going to be safe? And what's going to happen around the corner? What's going on? And she said, pick 10 cards, and then basically told me everything about what I was going through and what I needed, how I needed to heal. And I was in so much shock. I was like, oh, we could use these for that, right? So then I was like completely sold, even though I was making a living as a predictive reader for myself. Yeah, for myself. I was having a direct dialogue, direct as a personal transformation reflection device, basically a way in which I could communicate with the divine, a way in which I would not always like what I saw, you know, but it was a mirror, it was a flashlight, it was a GPS, it was like, you know, it was a lot of different things. And yeah, so, and we studied A Course in Miracles at that time too. So way back when,
that's exactly what I was going to get at with my first question, which is, tell us your journey with the course.
Yeah. So, okay. So I have to include something else. So, almost 38 years ago, I got clean and sober. So I've been clean and sober now, a day at a time, all that time. So I'd come out of a treatment center for women. I had a severe drug and alcohol addiction. I had a lot of violence and some trauma that happened to me in my late teens, early 20s, blah, blah, blah. That's not what that's about. Anyway, so I went to a 12-step program. I spent every day of the week in a church basement or in therapy. And all my friends got into A Course in Miracles. So that was the thing. We went to AA and we did the course, right? Yeah. So that was the thing to do back then. Like and we also went to, all of the same group of us went to the Tibetans for meditation classes. So it was kind of like, you know, churches, ACIM, and then the Tibetan, for the Tibetan, you know, monastery that we went to in Toronto. It wasn't a monastery, it was a temple. Anyway, but that's what we did. So it really went hand in hand with the concept of, and I will just say that the idea of surrender. So if you really just look at how, for me, my spiritual journey has been about accepting my humanity and being willing to change and transform, but surrendering at the same time to my higher power. And like trusting that my will in my life had to be in service to something greater than me. And that was it. That was basically the crux of sobriety, and that we had to clean up our side of the street. Now, here I am all these years later, I have to still do the same thing. You know, I still have to, on a daily basis, surrender my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand God. I still have to do my personal inventory. I still have to do those things, right? And I still have to trust that everything is perception.
Yeah, it's right now that I forgot to trust, because it's true. We constantly are forgetting and remembering, forgetting our truth and remembering our truth. And that the situation about the Course of Miracles in your life, that's incredible. And how what I think with the cards particularly, and the reason they move me, and I feel they're very related to the Course, is because it's listening to your higher self. And the way that I approach it is incredible. In the Course of Miracles, we talk about the Holy Spirit and the ego in those terms. I have no problem with the Holy Spirit. I tell people, say higher self, Pepito, Juanito, I don't care. Whatever word resonates with you. The most important thing is that connection to spirit, and also that trust. But when I read your cards and when I tune into them, they're so practical. Not only are they beautiful, because I'm Libra and I love beautiful things. Anything that's pretty, I am in. So I think they're gorgeous. But aside from that, the messages that we get, it could be from the crystals or the animal oracles. I know you have a lot of different oracle cards. Yeah. I feel that they're very aligned to the Course. That's why I wanted to have you here. They are. So how do you feel exactly?
They are. And okay, so here's the thing. When I channel a deck, I am the filter through which the deck is channeled. So in all of my decks, you are going to notice that I have been influenced in my spiritual path by the 12 steps and by A Course in Miracles, you know, and also the ancient. you know, so you're going to feel a sense of connection to it. The practicality is also because I mean, I studied Jungian psychology for eons. I just never got my degree. So I have a background in Jung, and then also, you know, 12 steps and that. So you're going to see a lot of smushy, yeah, you know, my filter is going to come through my life experience because it's still, I'm the one that still has to channel the deck, but it has to, there is a higher purpose and a universality in the lexicon. So all of my decks are based on a lexicon that I developed that were inspired by me looking at all the ancient divinatory systems that were systems that worked, that cultures used, like Norse runes, Celtic runes. I studied bird augury. I looked at, you know, the tarot, the I Ching, which is the oldest that we know of in terms of something that we have as a system, and kind of looked at all of them. What do they all have in common? And they all have a language in common of symbols, but it's a lexicon or a vocabulary that's kind of circular, so that you know the cards are always going to talk to each other, because not all oracle decks are created the same way. So the reason I think why people and not to say mine are better than anybody else's, but mine have very specific purposes, which are all about reflecting where you are, definitely looking at the potential realities of where you're heading into, but also understanding that you have free will, but you also have this higher destiny that your higher self knows. You have a spiritual blueprint that you are here to uncover and unfold, and the cards act as the unfolder. Right, they help you, but you have to participate. So in the old, in ways in which most people, and I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people, when they first go to oracle cards or the tarot, or they want to get a reading, they want to know, tell me my future, what's going to happen. And I'm like, well, what if you can say that's probably from today's point of vantage, but what if you chose to do a little work and healing on some of the ego wounds or whatever that create this behavior or choice making, etc.? What if you could tweak that? What if there was something greater than? What if you could surrender that and surrender the form and see what else there is? And then that changes everything, because the minute you even shift a tiny bit, your point of vantage changes and something else is possible. So it goes back to, who am I meant to be? Who do I need to become in order to choose this life that I know I desire, that I feel compelled, that I feel spiritually inspired towards? Because you can't just step into something without, you know, taking some of the crud off that we've accumulated, you know, as human beings that are raised in a society in which we are conditioned to see the world and ourselves in a very limited way that can be sometimes harmful to ourselves and others.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful approach. I hear just a lot of trust in that. And also the Course in Miracles says all you need is a little bit of willingness and miracles happen. And really, I like to say big willingness. I always say big fat willingness, because this world feels so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, not the cereal, right? But you need big willingness too. So I feel like there has to be this uncompromising nature, also not making any more exceptions, and really wanting to see the truth for yourself, right? Yeah, and that could be different.
And that changes, I think. That's the other thing. I think there's a level of a need right now to give ourselves more grace as we stumble into out of ignorance, into understanding ourselves better, understanding other people better, you know, understanding where we are in this life. I think the uncompromising state can't always be met when you are still operating out of an old wound, for example, right? So there's a level of, I think, gentleness that we need, because there isn't a whole lot of it out there. It's a very harsh world that we're living in if we were to look at most of what we see on social media, etc. And thank you for the hearts, everybody. You know, right? And so there's I think that it's just kind of like, can we see the world exactly as it is? That's uncompromising, right? I am going to look at this world exactly as it is, and then I'm going to be willing to be used as, because sometimes we dig our heels in because it's scary. Change where we're not in control of it can be scary. That's why everybody's acting out. It's like they need to control, right? It's like, and that's where trust goes, because it's not like, who's large and in charge? Well, it's not me.
Yeah.
Right? It's our higher power.
Yeah. I feel that's really, really, I think that's so helpful what you're saying right there, because we have to give ourselves grace. I remember when I was pregnant with my young son, he's 5 now, and I was a hot mess for a while. I was traveling, I was speaking, but I was a hot mess. Yeah. And I allowed myself to be a hot mess. And I think what you're saying there about grace and passion is huge. And I'm happy you brought that up, because I feel sometimes we want to do the spiritual bypass, and I feel like it doesn't work that way when we have that authenticity. And you tell me if you feel that this is true. If you have that authenticity and you're true to yourself, allow yourself to be a hot mess, give yourself grace, it actually helps you wake up. I feel, at least that's my experience.
Yeah, because then you don't have such like, I think uncompromising is for me, this is just for me. I have to understand that I am a work in progress. And I also have to understand that other people are too. And I think that I would like to have the same grace bestowed to me that I would bestow upon others. So as long as I know that my motives are right, but that my actions are in alignment with my values and those motives, I have to go to bed at night and sleep, right? You know what I mean? I have to sleep at night knowing that I've done the best I could, and knowing that what is truly mine and what is not mine to fix or heal or do whatever. Like, it's kind of like, do your work to the best of your ability and do the best you can, because we're not going to get it right 100%. I am still making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. Mm-hmm. And right? I don't think anybody here is going to say that they've got it down yet. And any teacher that says they've got it 100%, it's like that they're bullshitting you. Like a course is something that, you have to practice. It's a daily, just like the same with the 12 steps of, for recovery. It's just, you have to keep working it. You have to practice it. Then you have to live it. A Course in Miracles is something you live. It's not something that you think about and talk about only, right? And then and like you said, trust. Like, oh crap, I lost my trust for a minute. And then we want to get back on track. But do we want to be mad at the part of us that lost the trust for like 20 minutes? So what? Right? It's like, how much more can we stay in the trust? I don't want to be punishing that small child self inside of me that still has, the survival mechanisms that may not be the healthiest things, but we're all doing the best we can, as long as we have that commitment. I think that's it. My commitment is without compromise. My commitment to the journey, but also to the recognizing that I will fall on my face and I need to get myself up as quickly as I can, and not make a big deal about it. And do you know what I mean? And I think that everybody needs permission to be human right now.
Yeah.
Everybody needs permission.
I don't know what you call yours, but when I lose my shit and I'm going to go, I call her Maria la Loca. Maria la Loca. And that helps bring humor to it. I feel it's important, the humor. So every time I'm starting to believe my husband's my problem, my child's my problem, I'm like, oh, there she is. Maria la Loca has appeared. And then that helps me come back to my sanity.
I love that. I love that you have a name for that. So I have multiple names for different parts of me. So I totally get it. I've got Chicken Little going on sometimes. Like, oh my God, the sky is falling. No, it's not. Right? I chose 3 cards actually today to, like, what could make the people who are watching our conversation today, what could make sense to them, right? So, and I got it from my new Dreamweavers Oracle. So I got the first card is when you're neither here nor there, right? This is from my Dreamweavers Oracle. The art is really funky and wild. It's Joel Nakamura. He's a really incredible Japanese-American artist that's just amazing. Anyway, so that reminds us all that we haven't arrived, and we haven't and we have to let go of the thinking that we'll be okay when, or, if they behave, I'll feel better. You know, or if I get there, I'll be worthy, or if the ifs, the what ifs, the belief systems that create the need for us to be somehow really uncomfortable in the transition, which we're all in right now. We have to, like, do we get mad at the caterpillar when it's in the cocoon, when it's all mushy and it's having nightmares because it doesn't have its fuzzy coat on anymore and it doesn't freaking know what it's like to fly? We don't yell at it, right?
Exactly.
Parts of it has to die. It's just the way it is. And then it comes out that beautiful butterfly, and we can't overly help it either, because if you try to help a butterfly break out of its cocoon, it has no strength in its wings and it'll die. So that whole uncomfortable process that all of us are in right now, right, is we have to make peace with. And this is the best one too. So I got the second card was all the shoes fell from the sky. So that's my Chicken Little card. And it's also about how other people.
Wow, it's incredible. The art.
The art.
So
Art is amazing. We're actually using this deck. This deck is for Oraclepalooza Virtual, which I'll tell you about later. Anyway, this is all about, you know how we were afraid the other shoe to drop? Oh my God, the other shoe's going to drop. We have literally been, all of us, exercising and rehearsing that concept now for so long that we've even forgot that we start thinking like this. And it's like, and there's a lesson in this. It says in someone else's universe that's happening, but not in yours. So what are we making it mean is a question. Like, what do we make it mean if we have a moment, we get triggered for a second? Do we want to blow it all up? Because we live in our minds. We don't live, like 99% of what we're experiencing is thought and emotions based on what we think, like, and how we perceive the world, right? So this is saying, if you truly believe the potentiality of miracles and spirit and your higher power and God or Holy Spirit or however you call it, then you got to trust that your shoe, so what, a shoe dropped and bounced, big deal.
Yeah, it's like the Course in Miracles talks about the illusion, right? The separation.
Right.
What you're talking about, it's like we are.
Exactly.
All into that. But it's not true. It's true, the illusion, which is amazing.
No,
true.
And isn't it weird how we were built? I wonder why we were built like that. It was like, come on, why'd you build us like this? Where we wake up and then all of a sudden we totally know that there's no separation between us and God and everything like that. Then we start forgetting, and then we spend the rest of our life trying to figure out where it went. You know what I mean? And it's inside us all the time. The last card, which is hilarious, is only weavers know the time. So that's the other thing. So many people, they come into my mastermind, or they come into my school, or they come into any of my programs, like, I'm running out of time. When am I going to get my thing off the ground? Sorry, my dogs. We don't ever run out of time.
Yeah. And the three, we see them at 3, and also, what is it again?
Sorry, say that again.
The new oracle, what's the name? The name?
New oracle is called the Dream Weavers Oracle.
Is it out already?
Oh, yeah.
It
came out this year. Yep. And we have a whole event around this deck, and it says, you are the magic you're looking for.
To have that deck. Oh, my goodness. How exciting.
No, it's gorgeous. I love this guy. And it really is about reflecting and practical. You're right. I love that you said that before about what do we do, right? So there's like, this is a reflection of the truth that often is unconscious, right? So that's a lot of times why people are so freaked out when they first come around my work and they go, how do they know me? Right? Because I teach people how to ask the right questions. Like, you know, how do you use this? How do I know? How do they know me? Well, they know you because this is the universal language, the vocabulary it's built on, and the act of synchronicity between you pulling the card and it being reflected back to you, right? That is the part where you are talking directly to your higher power. If you're asking for true guidance, you're going to get it, like it or not, right? And this, like, you know, you look at these cards and you go, okay, this is so true. We do feel like that. So the whole thing is, again, it's always about surrendering to our higher power, but doing the legwork. We're not supposed to be armchair astronauts.
Yes.
We're not supposed to sit on our asses, right?
That's what I was saying about being uncompromising there.
That's true. Though that's true. The uncompromising, you're right. Uncompromising, that we have to still take action.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love that you're a Libra. I'm Libra rising. I always say I'm codependent rising. I'm people-pleasing ascendant, right?
Oh,
Because we also love beautiful things, but also the idea that we want everybody to be happy and harmony, right? And I think that
what's your sign,
I'm a
Colette?
Cancer.
Okay.
I'm a
Okay.
Cancer. So I'm that kind of mother of all orphans person, right?
Yeah.
I always say my people are a giant group of mystical misfits that come, and no matter what, we recognize that there is a mystical part of life that isn't built into our society, that we don't talk, right? But we have to find it. And of course, in Miracles perfectly aligns exactly with everything that I do, because I came out of the Course in Miracles and I came out of the 12-step program. So my spiritual path has been so deeply influenced by this, you know, that I can't help. That's my language. That's why a lot of ACIM people go, have you ever done the Course in Miracles? Yes.
Yes, and I have a lot of card decks, and the two card decks that always speak to me are the one I have two, which is the Crystal Spirits and the Spirit Animal. And every time I read them, there was a type of language there, because I would to the energy, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Does she know the Course? And I thought the same thing. I wasn't sure till you told me, but that makes me so happy.
I write because I was a songwriter first. I had another career as a musician, as a singer-songwriter. I had a couple albums on Universal Music years ago. So I'm a songwriter, so I write very lyrically. And also, oracles are meant to be a little obtuse. They're metaphoric. They're not meant to be literally accurate. They shouldn't be, because there's a part in you that has to feel the connection. What does it mean to you, as opposed to it being so literal? It's more of a poetic language anyway. So, and a Course is written that way.
Yes,
which is why I loved it. Yeah.
That's why I could do it so much. You know, the Course's principles are about taking responsibility at the cause and effect. So the cause is within you, and the effect you'll see it outside. So your perception, if you're fear, love, and then the biggest thing about the Course is forgiveness, which is people for what they didn't do. It's acceptance. It's surrender. It blows your mind, and I feel that your cards, I'm going to say this is really powerful, will help you as a guide to come to that forgiveness, which is really the release of judgment, because that's what the Course is teaching you.
Yes.
The judgment.
Yes.
A happy dance. I'm telling you, you will do that.
Yeah, I love that. You're so funny. Oh my God. I would hang out with you if we lived near each other.
Yes.
Totally. And I love that, the release of judgment, because I do think that, I mean, that's not bypassing, that's allowing for redemption. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I'm not going to sit in my dirty diaper. I am going to realize that I have to deal with something. And sometimes I am trying to drink poison, thinking the other person is going to get sick, and it's me. Glug, glug, glug. We poison ourselves with our need for revenge, or our, you know, like, it's one thing to desire, you know, things to be better than it is to, you know, when we sit there and we stew or whatever. And we literally, I believe that, you know, that concept of forgiveness is a technology. That radical forgiveness is so important. It's like, would you let your garden be overrun with weeds? No, you would pull it out. So, right, it's like the release of judgment.
Yes. It took me a long time, because I've been studying the Course in Miracles over 25 years. I found it in the 90s. And when I walked into my first workshop, the instructor was saying forgiveness is forgiving people for what they didn't do. And I was like, what? Because the Course says only love is real, all else is an illusion. So serious, like, they're not really coming from their true nature when they're attacking, etc. So I finally figured it out after 20 years, Colette, that forgiveness equals non-judgment. Let's just make it very simple.
Yeah.
It really,
non-judgment.
Right? It's just, and it took me forever to understand that, because the worldly forgiveness is you forgive people for something that you believe really happened, and that you need to forgive them for it, making it even more real.
Right.
So,
and you want to know what's real, what's interesting too? Like, so one of the things that we teach in Oracle School, one of the main things that we talk about is, what are we making it mean? Right. So this is one of the questions that we ask. If we're going to become the person that has the life that we, you know, that we know is meant for us, what are we making this mean? And so oftentimes we create these mental stories about things that were, or that someone else's motives and someone else's judgment, somebody else's thing. And it's like we've created this poisonous mass in our heads that cut us off from spirit. And we are responsible to keep that connection open and clear, right? And so, you know, we have to go in there and say, like, if only love is real, then what the heck is this? Why am I doing this? Right? Why am I creating this crazy cuckoo-ness in my head? You know, and really trust it, right?
Like me, the crazy cuckoo.
No, cuckoo, like Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs is me too.
I love it. I love it.
I love you.
Yeah.
Said, you're Maria Loco and I'm Coco. I'm Cuckoo Colette.
Cuckoo
Right?
Colette. Yes, it's born there. Cuckoo Colette and Maria la Loca.
Yeah. Like when I get like that, I'm like, why am I wasting all this energy on creating this? And a lot of the times, and I do think though that, you know, trying to overthink why we do it is like, I thought about why for years. Why? Then I realized, like, it's not important why. It's important that I'm doing it. It's important that I need to release my judgment. I'm not in that person's shoes. I don't know what they feel like or how they felt. I know what I have to do for me. I can't create some storyline that, you know, that then cords me to this person, place, thing, situation, you know, whatever the heck it is. You know, it's keeping it clean. And I also know that, like, it's kind of like taking out the garbage. You got to take out the garbage, right? It's like you're going to amass some garbage. If we're human and we live in this particular world, in this particular society, if we're looking at anything, basically, we're going to come up with crap. So we have to dump it. Like, we have to do it, right? And I really know that it's, and I used to think, oh my God, it needs to be perfect, and it's not going to be. You know, I'm 65 years old, and I always think I'm just starting. I'm just beginning this journey.
Inspiring. So inspiring. It's incredible. And you have like a full career. You're thriving. You have these beautiful eyes. Can we switch eyes for just a hot second, please? It's like incredible. I
gotta tell you too, I'm just starting. Like, I feel like I'm just starting. Like, I've got new things I'm doing and whatever. Like, I would never even think of, like, I know people in Canada retire at 65. Like, it's our thing. I'm like, what? Sorry, my dogs. But I think too, and I love what Shelley Marie Healer said. She said she went into perfectionism, and we really need to love that part of ourselves that goes into those places. You know, when we try to be perfect and we try to get it perfectly. Because listen, one of the things that I have learned along the way, being a public person and you know, being out there, etc., you're going to disappoint people. You're going to not get it right, and you're going to do it in front of other people. You know, you have to be willing to, and even if you're not a public person, just in your own life, you have to be willing to give yourself the grace of your humanness, but like you said, the uncompromising, that you take the action, right? You do whatever action. Sometimes action is non-action. Like, you know, right? It's like sometimes you have to say nothing to have the right action, like to do nothing and say nothing, even though you want to control the outcome or whatever. But you realize sometimes you just have to also, there's just different ways of staying connected to spirit and staying out of judgment that are not always going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
They're just,
it's
not,
mm-hmm.
you know, but you have to be willing to try. Because if you're not willing to transform, if you just want to sit, do it, you're just, think about it. Are you going to be the same person in 10 years?
Yeah.
No.
The whole compromising thing was a big eye opener for me. That's why I talk about it a lot. And I share
okay.
Because I had this addiction to looking for love outside of myself, especially in men. I had that looking for love, trying to have people complete me. Remember the Jerry Maguire phase? You complete me.
Yeah.
You know. And I realized one moment when I had like this mystical experience, I was doing a whole process of forgiveness for a week that I channeled, and it was for me. It was forgiving my father for committing suicide when I was 3 months old, and then feeling like this abandonment throughout all my life. Always that. So I had this moment, Colette, where I sat with spirit. I had done this 7-day process. I was so happy. I was crying. I had felt I had forgiven. And I talked to spirit, said, Spirit, I'm ready. I'm ready for a relationship. I'm ready to experience my ministry with a man. I'm so ready. All of a sudden, Colette, I got, no, you're not.
Right? That's that last part. It's going to come in divine appropriate timing.
I was like, what? What do you mean I'm not ready? I've been crying. I've been, you know, doing I've been, I'm doing all these things. I cried. I did this healing with my father and spirit. What it was, Colette, is that it's the first time that I was actually honest with myself, that I wasn't ready to forgive yet, that I was still holding on to having somebody complete me, that I was still holding on to somebody recognizing me, and then also them liking me, or me convincing them they love me. So it was that realization that I needed to have that big awakening of, oh my gosh, like that's been my blind spot, that I have been saying I want love. I have been saying I don't want to be codependent, but at the same time, my thought, how I've been acting and being with men, that I have to, make them. So
I bet you any money, every single person on this call identifies with that. At some point in our lives, I was raised to believe that I would have to be, I had immigrant parents, right? But we had to work hard, high academics. We had to marry somebody that was like, we're going to get married, have kids. Like, so your value as a woman was that you were going to trade off your value to get married. So of course one would assume, right? So there's a lot of things that I think that, we all learn. And I was in that space too. And for many years, many years. And then when I finally gave up and realized I also had a broken picker, I let God send me the right person, and I wasn't ready either. I didn't meet my husband till I was 44. Yeah.
Well,
I wasn't.
We have something similar, because I didn't meet my husband till I was 40.
Right.
And my son at 41. So we have,
right.
We're very connected. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and if somebody had told me that, I was like, bring them now in my 30s. Like, no, thank God I was completely, I needed a lot of therapy before I could have the kind of relationship I had now. But I get it, the idea that anything outside of ourselves would complete us. I thought that way about my career, my music career. I believed that if I didn't have that, I would not have value in the world. And it took a long time, but that does come with maturity too, and really working it, where you realize that what I do is, I'm just very grateful and I'm lucky to do what I do, and I feel it's my purpose, but it doesn't define me in terms of who I am as a person and my values. My worth is not about what I do. My gift is about what I do. And you know what I'm saying? And I think that, for me anyway, it took me quite a while to get that part in my that part down. But thank God we have a life, and we get to, if we're committed to, inviting spirit into our lives and remembering that separation is an illusion, we can't help but come to this conclusion that we are here as emissaries of the divine. Like, spirit chose you, chose me, and chose every single person watching this conversation to experience itself through. So every person, spirit needs you to experience itself in form, right? The Holy Spirit needs you to experience, because it needs a body to know what it's like to be in the material world. We get chosen for that. So however it is that we get used, like if I say, use me as thou wilt, I always had a PS, I want this, excuse me, you're going in the wrong direction. Hello, right? You know what I mean? I have a dream. It's not what you're sending me to do. We just have to remember, thy will be done, not mine. And then we're good. And does it mean we won't have pain and suffering? No way. We're going to have pain and suffering. We're going to lose people. We're going to lose pets. We're going to see, injustice in the world. We're going to feel badly for things we have no control over. There's going to be pain and suffering. And our job is to alleviate that, to the degree that we can in our own lives, by accepting that's part of being human, and brings us closer to God. Like I have a greater sense of joy because I've known grief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So life is not just cherries. Yippee! I want to mention something.
Yes.
When you talked about forgiveness, I am going to talk about this because we are coming up to my big event every year, and we have part of the entire weekend is around forgiveness, and the exercises that I have, the meditations, are mind-blowing. Like, people are sobbing right when we get to that point, because it's so key that forgiveness is the crux of everything. That radical forgiveness and non-judgment. When we can do that for ourselves and our past, it's like some kind of wild thing happens, like it opens up, our eyes are lifted, and we're like, holy crap, I see the world so differently. And even if it doesn't last forever, we never forget it. So we have a marker, we have a benchmark for that sense of communion with spirit that is just remarkable. So anyway, that's coming up September 15th, 16th, and 17th. If people are interested, go to my website.
That's what I was going to ask you. I think I have it here. It's ColetteBaron-Reid.com. It's a beautiful website, by the way.
Thank you.
And your membership. I want everybody to know Colette has an incredible membership. I'm about to start a Course in Miracles membership. So I was looking at your page. Your page is just so absolutely beautiful. My husband's a web designer. He was impressed. He's like, wow, this is a beautiful page. So everybody go on to ColetteBaron-Reid.com after our interview. And we're going to start wrapping it up here. I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
But I just wanted to just tell you.
I forget that we're not hanging out as girlfriends, right? Like we're just like, yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, we're on Instagram Live.
We'll let it go as long as it goes. But I wanted to let you know we'll start wrapping up soon. I mean, we could talk forever. Yeah. We have a lot of things. Two of the things that were coming up for me that I feel this interview would be helpful, and I invite people to share it if they feel that it touched their heart. I feel that we covered a lot of things, and you were so insightful with a lot that you have shared today. But two things that were coming up is, one, is the inspiration of going through so many things in your life, being addicted, having addictions, going through the 12-step program, and everything you have been able to accomplish is inspiring, as well as myself with my background. So that's one thing that has come up. The other one that came up was that doesn't define you. Now, I feel like we're sort of soul connected or something.
Yeah.
When I was an actor, you did music, I was an actor. I was an actor for over 25 years and also modeling. But when I got called to be a teacher of God, I said, this is going to be fun. Because I made that whole other thing so serious.
Yes.
I suffered so much being an actor, trying to get the jobs and all this stuff. I said, okay, God, you want me to be a teacher of God? It's going to be fun.
Well, I can imagine you are fun, so it's fun.
It's fun because I made it matter so much, my other career.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I'm going to be in your hands. And then I always say that this doesn't define me. I always say me being a teacher, of course, doesn't define me. My book, that I wrote, Live Your Happy, doesn't define me. Nothing defines me. God defines me. And that gives me power. And you just said it. I was like, oh my God, she speaks like I speak. We're just kind of like speaking in collaboration. We're doing a dance.
But isn't it true, though, that all of life is a collaboration and a dance? We can't do this alone. We need each other. That's why I have a membership site. That's why you're putting a membership site together, right? So, I mean, we come together in community. I got clean and sober in community. I didn't do it alone. I couldn't do it by myself. I tried. It didn't work. So for me, my spiritual progress and my spiritual work has always been in community with others, even if I F it up, right? So... it's always and you're right. And it's about remembering that what we do should not define us. That I love that you said that God defines me. I mean, that's uncompromising right there. That statement right there. And if we can remember that we are the paintbrush, we are the canvas, that God uses us to express itself in the world, then we can step aside that little ego that thinks it's in charge, it's fearful and whatever. And that's the work. That's the work, is the shadow work, the work, where we need to learn to heal, etc. But the expression of God and the divine, man, that's what it, listen, I'm telling you, that rocks beyond.
When you said define, I was like, oh my gosh. That is a big teaching. That goes really deep. And I share it all the time because it's given me so much freedom for things not to define me. I'm going to go now to my fun questions for you. And they're just little fun questions to get to know you better. Oracle and tarot card.
What did you say? What is the difference?
Favorite Oracle or tarot cards. Like, what's your favorite Oracle deck that you have? Like, for you?
Favorite,
I know it must be hard to choose, but I'm curious.
My favorite Oracle deck, I don't have a favorite. They're all my favorites, all my babies. I'm going to say Wisdom of the Oracle, the deck that I teach with, is because I teach with this in Oracle School that's coming up in a couple weeks. So that
one resonates with me a lot because of A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know why.
You would like it. Yeah. Well, that's why. That's my favorite one. And the Universal Weight or the Aquarian Tarot are my two favorite tarot decks.
Awesome. Favorite spirit animal?
Oh, I don't really have a favorite spirit animal, but I have a spirit animal that constantly speaks to me. So I would maybe call it a favorite, is a dragonfly.
Dragonfly.
So it's like to say they're all my favorites, but one that particular means something to me personally would be a dragonfly.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, my favorite movie? Are you asking me this? Okay. Okay. I have a bunch of them. Stop it. Come here. Tinkerbell, come here. Okay. My favorite movie, I have a bunch of them. Practical Magic is one of my favorite movies. And the other one is Legally Blonde.
I love it.
And I know it. And then Arrival with Amy Adams. I love that. I love movies. But I've seen those like a ton of times.
How about somebody like super, super, super famous, more famous than you, that you would like to have dinner with?
Well, I don't really care about famous people. I know so many famous people, and I've had dinner with some really famous people. I don't have anybody in mind, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. David Bowie and his wife, although he's crossed over now. I would say I don't have any. You know what? That's not a good question.
That's actually a good. That's actually a good one, because it's like people that inspire us. Sometimes I'll think, I don't know, like a Nelson Mandela or something. Like, I don't know. Just sometimes I think people like that. But that's amazing. How about what makes you laugh a lot? I see that you laugh a lot, anyways.
My dog. My husband makes me laugh a lot. Life makes me laugh a lot. I laugh at myself all the time. Yeah. I like laughter, period.
I know. I've noticed that you and I have laughed a lot. I feel very connected with you. I'm so happy I got to know you better.
Thank you.
Everyone, seriously, come on. This was amazing.
Come on. Hey.
I'm into that. I just invite everyone. We had over 100 people live. I think technology is incredible.
Yeah.
I offer up that anyone that got touched by this interview, felt guided by Colette, myself, or inspiration, to please share it. You talked about it yourself, about community and sharing message. And follow Colette on Colette Baron-Reid.com.
ColetteBaron-Reid.com. And if you're interested in coming to Oraclepalooza, it's Oraclepalooza.com. Or if you're interested in my that's a 3-day event. That's amazing. Starts on September the 15th. The super tickets are gone. VIP tickets are all gone now. But there's still like great swag and stuff you can get. And if you're interested in the membership site, it's cbrlove.com. That's where the community goes. Very inexpensive. $22 a month.
Oh, I saw the price. Incredible.
I over deliver in there, I will say. You get a lot.
High value, low cost. It's incredible.
Value, low cost.
And that being said, mine is in creation mode right now. It's about to launch, actually. I'm going to put it on Circle, on the new community called Circle.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, do you have any advice for me in regards to my membership besides?
Yeah. So ours has been on Facebook, and 1/3 of our members are not on Facebook. So we're also going to migrate it at some point in the new year too. So Circle, or the other one that's really good is, I can't remember the name of it. I think you're supposed to do Circle. That's why I can't remember the name. The other thing is, it is good to give as much as you can. And like, I have programs that are $20,000, like my mastermind. So this is the place where anyone can come, because anybody can afford $22, right? So at least within reason, right? Maybe not everybody can, but I'm just saying it's a place where it's a very good price. And it enables people to be in community without it, going too deep into their, pocketbook or whatever, and really get a lot out of it. So that's the only place on the internet where I give readings, for example, because I don't do that anymore. I've done that, like, I retired 6 years ago. So if you can do something that only you do, I mean, you're a hoot. I would sign up to your membership. You know what I mean? Like, don't do it anywhere else, and give it special to the people. Because it's special. It's that people are paying any amount of money. They're special.
Yeah.
You treat them special, and we love our members. We literally, it's my favorite thing to do, is my membership site.
I see that. I can totally see that, especially with our, because we just want to you know, give and extend. And
yeah, and like, and people will come, and just know too, you're not for everybody. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And like, it's just like the people will find you who are meant to, and word of mouth is always the best. We're really lucky that we have technology, but I'm going to tell you, when somebody really enjoys it and then tells their friends, that's really important too. Not just, you know what I mean? Like pushing it, trust God to bring the people. I always say, bring me the right people, bring me the right people. I pray, I said, you bring them.
My job, it's God's job. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want
not our job.
Big job. That's too exhausting for me.
Please let me know when your membership starts. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colette, for being here. ColetteBaron-Reid.com. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere. Sister, big kiss.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.